and we are excited to be here once again. We're going to be having a great time this morning on the Good Morning Education Show. Please do not hesitate to join us. As you join us, tell us your name, tell us your location where you're streaming from, and we'll be glad also to recognize you. On the Good Morning Education Show today, we will be having an going to be one that you would appreciate, and it's going to be a short show, but we're going to try to go straight to the point as much as possible, as much as we can. On the show today, we will be taking a bit of the headlines and considering some of the headlines today. But then up there, we would also take a step further and then also look at an interesting topic that I believe that, especially for those who are starting a new session today, it will be good for them as educators, as schools, as practitioners, the of, of the day and of the times, right? It's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. We always try our possible best to ensure that we are here, that we are present, and that we have a great time on the show. And I believe that today is not going to be an exception. We're going to have a great time. Sit back, pay attention, and spend time together on the show. We about having our guests, analysts, and having our friends. We're always excited about having loyal tribe members, on the show. We always enjoy your contributions, and these contributions come from across the continent, from Nigeria to every other part of the world. And I believe that we're going to have a great time on the show, today as well. Today is not going to be an exception on the show. Please feel free to make your contributions. Um, tell us what you are interested in, and if you have questions, pertinent questions based on subject matter. So we're gonna start with the headline, like I said, and is let's start with one of the interesting headlines this morning. Um, First headline is on the Dowen College issue. So we have Dowen College, Niger Delta youth protests once against Monday reopening. Well, I'm sure if you were following this, you would have seen some back and forth, mixed emotions over the matter. To be precise, there was a particular uh, thing that happened last week, and following the Wednesday's clearance of 10 students and staff of Dowen College by the Director of Public Prosecution (DPP) of their involvement in the death of the 12-year-old Sylvester Oromoni. Some Niger Delta youth yesterday, stormed the school in protest, and clad in white shirts with inscription on it, the group issued an ultimatum to the school, warning that it must not open on Monday, else they would strongly resist it. According to them, the school cannot resume like other schools in the state when justice was yet to be served. Following legal advice of the DPP, the Lagos State government had cleared 5 students, which included 16-year-old Favor Benjamin, 15-year-old Michael Kashamu, 16-year-old Edward Begui, and 14-year-old Ansel Temil, and 15-year-old Kenneth Young. And also cleared were five members of staff: Selina Udwa, Valentine Igbo, Igbo Ekweze, Ahmad Ayomo Bariu, Adesoya Olusegun, and one Adeyemi. The autopsy and toxicology report of postmortem samples established the cause of death as septi, septicemia. I hope I got that right. Lobar pneumonia with acute pyelonephritis. And of course, pneumocystis of the right ankle and acute bacterial pneumonia due to severe sepsis. According to the youth, they were there to express anger and grievances with the fake and corrupt report released by Lagos State Director of Public Prosecution that this school where cultists are being trained is cleared. Where cultists are being trained is cleared. And so many things, so many things. It's just it's a sad situation. Actually, it's a sad situation to to see um, all these things. And I always say, like I always say, I think that there's a lot of messaging issue. You know, where we begin to look at when we begin to look at some of these things that happen, you begin to see that there are gaps in messaging issues, and when we don't message right, things can degenerate even beyond your expectation. And this is a lesson for the Ministry of Education, a lesson for the state government involved, a lesson to everyone, um, and just to make sure that we are doing the right thing, but also communicating the right thing with the right messaging, with the right in the right way, in the right manner. And still on that same news, it says that on Sylvester Romani, Lagos lists conditions to reopen Dowen College, reviews boarding schools. Now, it's not surprising to know that boarding schools or those who operate boarding schools will um, will be will be under a test radar. So let's just have a little bit of the insight on that. It says Lagos State Government has directed the management of Dowen College Lekki to make corrections after the death of Sylvester Oromoni. Commissioner of Education for Lasade Adefsaya said identified lapses in administration discovered during inspection and investigation must be fixed. The ministry position on Thursday following the DPP, which is the Department of Public Prosecution, which says Oromoni's death could not be linked to bullying. On the fate of Dowen College students as second term begins, Adefsai said government was reviewing the operational guidelines of boarding schools and requirement of for establishment. In a statement, the commissioner announced that the ministry will begin revalidation of all existing boarding school facilities after the midterm holidays. She disclosed that monitoring and inspection of schools were being overhauled to improve efficiency. Adefisai confirmed that Dowen College management had been mandated to work on school governance gap as well as other regulatory issues. Well, there you have it. Um, the school has been mandated to make sure they fix everything that needs to be fixed, and we are patiently, looking at the dynamics, of all these things. And I hope that in the shortest possible time, you, you, in the shortest possible time, we begin to see changes. But then, so many people have different perspective, perception, concerns about the entire matter. And our prayer is that Things are done in the right way. Things are done with the right spirit. And so let's take one more headline so that we can get into the meat of the matter today. And this headline is coming from Ondo State, to be precise. It's talking about the governor's directive. Ondo governor directs principals of, well, directs vice principals to teach due to the shortage of teachers. The shortage of teachers, um, you know, if we will be true to ourselves, is not a strange subject. It's not new. We know that we have a teacher supply issue, which is tied to teacher shortage. And I think that it would be nice for us to spend some time, to get this, you know, as something that must be done urgently. Excuse me. So, although governor directs the vice principal, to teach, meaning that everybody must see it as all hands on deck situation. And I can understand and I can identify with the state government for coming up with this kind of directive. I hope that they're able to sustain it or devise a mid-term, short-term, and lasting solution on the matter. So that's it for that. And once again, if you're joining us, welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. And we are talking about the goals service today. And it's going to be an interesting one, I believe. Why? Because when you say the goal service, so many things come to mind, right? So many things come to mind. That's the truth about it. So we are we're going to experience a lot more on this angle, as this is. So basically, a lot of a lot of things come into perspective. You know, a lot of things come into perspective, and I believe that as we deal with this perspective, we begin to see how things are shaped, how things should be shaped. You know, so let's even spend time to look at it in objective manner, and of course in a practical manner. And when we say goal service, it's just like trying to say that we know that schools are resuming a new session today, and it's still a new year. We're just 10 days into the new year. We have 355 days left in the year. And one of the best way, to start and celebrate the year is to understand that as we get that revised vigor, we should also not miss out on the matter, you know, that we have to set goals, but not just set goals, we have to drive goals. Goals will always lead us to a place of accomplishment, you know, a place of accomplishment, So I want us to look at it from that understanding. So you have to begin to understand that everything that you do and everything that you need, everything that you have to become, you know, must be one that always ensures, always demands, you know, so many things from you, and I just want to put it out there, our goals are not the end. A lot of people begin to take too much energy, you know towards the goals that they are setting, almost to equally equate to them that is the end. you know it's not the end. It's not the end. It's not the end. Your goal is not the end. Your goal actually is triggering a beginning, And I want to believe that as we all, begin to 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 do more, we must begin to understand that a lot of things, right? A lot of things that we are out and about must be to be able to position us in a way that we can be meaningful, or we can have a beneficial outcome to our lives. And so I'm going to just place it out there. Remember, I said it's going to be a very short one, but I know that it's going to be a promising one as well. So our goal this morning is to see how we can get to that point that all the things that we're trying to achieve, all the things that we're trying to achieve, and all the things that we are about, we're able to, get to a point where we have breakthroughs, you know, we have breakthroughs to it. So if you're out there and you're listening to me this morning, I'd like you to understand the goal is not the end. Number two, beyond understanding that the goal is not the end, I need you to pick the first two letters of the word goal. GOAL. The first two letters is, you have G, you have O. Every goal must wire you to go. There has to be a going as opposed to a static and status state. You see, it's easy to set lovely goals, and those goals put you in such a position, in such a place, in such a state where you don't feel you are on the go. Goals must require goal. There has to be a going. There has to be some going. There has to be a push. There has to be some movement. Movement in an upward direction, movement in the true direction. And this is very important. We need to be on the go. We need to push through. We need to move through. We need to take ourselves beyond where we are to where we ought to be. That's what it simply means. And we know there are characteristics of goals. But before we go into what characteristics of goals are, a lot of people also know, yes, while we are talking and heavily say your goals must be characterized by this, you must also realize that your goals actually must come as a result of your reality. And your reality, right, sets a better shaping, a better perspective for your goals. So a lot of people tend to miss out on this factor. You must be able to have goals, and those goals predicated on the possibilities that these are the things that you really want to achieve. And as you do all this, then it's easy, and it becomes easier for you as a person, for you as an entity to be able to drive meaningful pursuit, meaningful change, meaningful growth, you know, um, and as the case may be. So that's my counsel to everyone this morning, to be able to ensure that they themselves are people who have thought through these things, have positioned themselves in such a way and in such a manner that they are ready, to make sure that all through their days, all through their moments, also the period of the things that they're doing, that there is actually a way out of it. And and as we begin to march towards, as we begin to as we begin to as we begin to march as we begin to march towards the activation and actualization of our tasks and responsibilities, and as we stake ourselves further into the year and into our session, I think that it's very important that we understand the place and the possibilities of having goals, you know. And of course, going to the characteristics of goals, we all know that it is said that we must set smart goals. And in setting smart goals, we're talking about, the fact that the goals must be able to get to that point of qualification. We always familiarized ourselves with the principle of specific goals, measurable goals, achievable goals, realistic goals, and all the likes. And it must be time bound. But we also realize that it shouldn't just stop at that. You should have goals that you've already desired based on how your realities are. And then you move on to saying that you want to not just set the goals, you want to get the goals. Remember the two letters GO, go. You want to go to get the goals that you set, because there's no point setting what you will not get or setting what you are not desirous of getting, setting what you are not positioned to get. So getting the goals, then the SMART acronym takes a different look, where you now say it must not just be specific, it must be strategic. It mustn't just be measurable, it must have milestones. It mustn't just be achievable, you must have the action plans required. It mustn't just be realistic, it must also tell you what resources are involved. It mustn't be time bound, but it also, not just be time bound, it also must have a preset team. What is the team that you will require to make sure that you deliver on these goals? What exactly are the resources required? What exactly are the actions that you need to take? And when you're able to do all this, it just helps you to put yourself on a platform where you set the goals, but then you now get the goals. And of course, for that to really happen, because we know that desires sometimes can just be painting castles in the air, you want to be able to prepare yourself to put your goals from nice to have to a must have. And for that to happen, you need to go back to that same acronym and say to yourself that now that I'm setting and I'm planning to get the goals, how can I ensure that at all costs I get these goals? So, number one, we go back to the SMART acronym. And in the SMART acronym, let me welcome Dr. Derry. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was interesting. Thank you. No school runs today. All right. So we're talking about the goal service. So I was trying to explain to people the dynamics of goals, really. And one of the key things that I was trying to portray was the fact that um, your goals must be something that empowers you. Your goals must require you to go. The two letters in goal, the first two letters is GO, which is go. There must be a going to every goal. And the first thing is that the goal is meant to talk about, well, your reality first your goal, but the goal is not the end. A lot of times people feel that the energy that is required is to set a goal to make them feel like there's a monumental effect that I'm a serious human being, but we all know that there's a journey before and after setting those goals. So those are the things we're talking about. Olushola Olumide, welcome to the show. But I like,
Good morning, Rotimi. Good morning, Darren. Good morning to our tribe members out there.
Good morning, sir.
thank you. So I like Derry to just, jump in on this matter. Goals. I know you have a lot to say, so let's allow you say.
Okay, so I remember, like, I think sometime in December we went on break. I was saying on my to iTrain Africa, I was like, or to professionals especially, who I know will be jumping from one goal setting session to the other, which is not a bad thing because, in fact, if you're at that level of awareness, that you should be joining a goal setting group or a goal setting session or a strategy session around goals. Really, it means you are not, you've even gone past that level of not setting goals at all, right? So it's a good thing. But I said something like, don't get into a goal setting session without getting into a strategy session on execution. Because at the end of the day, um, if you think maybe you pay 35,000 naira, whatever, to do a goal setting session in a group, or you don't even pay, you get it for free. And you think that is your It's more like people get fulfillment up from saying, oh, I have a goal setting session. And typically, like it's what I do too. Even sometimes I don't do it in a group, I do it alone. Like I create a bucket list. I think I taught the people on my email list how to do it. Yes, it was the email that went out on December 24th. How I create, like, as in simple ways of just creating your own goal setting this thing. I basically divide my life into like 19 buckets, and put the things I want to achieve in that year. I basically set goals, right? For those things, as in those 10 spiritual, maybe 10 major aspects of my life. Maybe examples of, oh, I put spirituality, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my children. I put them in different buckets because they are different things. I put my academic life, maybe in the academic life, I say, oh, I want to write 2 academic papers. So at the end of the day, once I'm able to do that, I have a goal. But then what do I do with the goal? Which is where most people get it wrong. And when people see me at the end of the year writing my brag sheets and all that, they're like, ah, but we did the same goal setting. Like, especially when I do these kind of things in a group and I show, like, as in, this is how I do it. So what I got to realize after, because I consistently started doing this, I think 2019, as in the goal setting and all that. What I discovered was, when all of us leave that goal setting session, it's like some people get fulfillment for having set the goal, and there's no subsequent session on strategy. But because I'm very, like, I'm blessed with strategy, like, as in, it's just like a gift for me that I can, like, basically strategize to execute. So they don't get to get themselves in that strategy mode and pick it one by one. I'm that person that maybe I say, oh, I set a goal that I want to create, like, I want to improve on my relationship with my husband, for instance. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but I'm just that person that always feel there's a better thing, right? And not based on someone else's. Like, I just always set a better goal for myself, no matter how good that thing is. So if I say I want to improve on my relationships, me and someone sets that goal, for instance, I would have gone to, how do I do this? Oh, we live in separate cities. The next thing I'll be thinking about is, okay, how about if I surprise him for his birthday? How about if I take him to Maldives? I'm that person that's already thinking ahead. And I'm not just thinking it because I've already set the goal. I can see it. And I start to put in, like, okay, if I want to take him to Maldives in May, it means by now I should have started looking for, planning on how I'm going to spend the cheapest money and still get what I want, because I know it takes, if I'm going to book a flight. I'm that person that would have started saying, what is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things I need to do starting from now to make sure that goal is achieved. So maybe in my January, I've already fixed a place on my schedule to say, check Waka now or check this to book that ticket. So by the time I'm achieving my goal of surprising my husband, building the bond, you didn't make any plans to execute your goal. And last minute in December, you discover that, oh, I said I was going to, be that better wife or be that better mother. And you've not done anything about it, but you actually set the goal. So I think what people should start thinking about is, don't think about goals in isolation. Goal is a means to an end. Or how do I explain? It is not a task. It is just something that you set so that you can even have, this is what I am chasing. You can have that point that I say, this is where I'm going to. But after doing that, there are 2 major things you need to do. Create a strategy on how you are going to achieve that goal, and create execution, like timelines for execution of those things that you've put in your strategy session. Like, and trust me, that is the most mentally tasking thing to do. I know that because I typically have to do it for myself, do it for my businesses, like at the beginning of every year. We've basically been on strategy since end of the last year till this year. And I'm looking at the roadmap right now. I have dates for every single program we're going to launch in Nigeria and Africa. They say I have dates. And I already have people manning those days. This program 1 is headed by this person. By February, this is what we are going to do. So when you start seeing me releasing those things, it is not from the goal setting session me and you attended together. It is because I've had subsequent strategy sessions on execution. So please, don't let somebody deceive you that they say, oh, come and pay for a goal strategy, and you think that is where it ends. If you can, if you've already invested your money in goal setting session, please go and look for a strategist that you can maybe have a one-on-one with, I offer that service if you want to. But go and look for that person that has the ability to strategize for your goal, for execution, which is why people get coaches or whatever, or go into sessions. Please, please, please. Your goal is not the end. It is only the beginning, actually.
Thank you so much. I'm going to quickly ask Olushola to treat this because, there's a tendency that also we get to realize that people get so forceful, so driven by the goals that they're setting. And then there's this state of ambition. They become so inordinate in their ambition. I've seen many people who show a bit of promise, and any measure, of quick win or draw down success, this kind of low hanging fruit that shows that probably they are getting closer to their entire goal, or it looks like there's something meaningful in all they've been doing. They all of a sudden become invincible. They get so toxic, sometimes not toxic, they get so ambitious that even they don't even take correction, and then you begin to see them exhibit rude behavior, disregard, and the likes. Let's hear from Olushola. How do people become monsters because of great goals? How do we prevent that?
It is often said that it is more difficult to maintain success than achieve success. No matter who we become, there is always opportunity to learn more and become more. And when somebody gets to the point of saturation, in the short run, it may not be problematic, but in the long run, but that person is not going to be able to absorb any other thing further. And when we allow good things to displace the better and the best, it becomes counterproductive. Yes, from what Madam Derin has said, I think aspect of execution for me is more important than goal set. I don't really bother myself so much about. I just try to execute. Now, what people also need to realize is that don't be a loner. Also realize that you need other people in your life. And I will always tell people there is more to know than what we know now. And anybody can come into our space, progressive people who want to help us move ahead. I understand, success can be intoxicating. I want us to look at it from that angle. That's why I tell people, if you achieve success accidentally, if there's anything like that, maybe somebody didn't expect to go to point 2, suddenly find himself in point 5. It's likened to somebody wearing an oversized shoe. When you become uncontrollable, become proud for any success you achieve or for any feat you have attained, that particular position is bigger than you as a person. So that's why people misbehave. Unfortunately, you will have such a person will have blocked greater chances, because it takes a miracle for people you have been rude to, people you look down on, especially part of people who fed you when you were growing up. When I mean growing up, I'm not talking from even babyhood. In this journey of business, in this journey of professionalism, there are people who took your hand when you knew nothing, and suddenly you eat it big, and the same set of people are calling your attention to certain things, and you are like, let them go to hell. It will take a miracle for those people to forgive and come back to your life. So for me, I will say, set goals, work on executing it with as many people that can be of help. At the same time, don't lose the human relation aspect of life. For everything we do, there is a human relation aspect. And that goes a long way beyond our mastery, beyond our proficiency, beyond our techie, whatever. There is always the human part to every phase of life. Don't look down on it. and you learn to collaborate. There should be convergence, not divergence. Out there, I will talk to anybody who care to listen. Please, please, and please don't shun people out of your space, especially people who have been so good to you, people who want to be of help to you. That you disagree, it doesn't have to lead to a toxic relationship. I know when it comes to money, people can become inordinate. You won't really know the character of people until you get to the issue of money, until you get to the issue of position. It is then you begin to realize that there is more to that personality than you have been seeing over time. So I will tell anybody who is listening to me out there, watch it. If there are people in your space, there is a balance in Yoruba, that when an adult is sitting down, he is saying farther than you, that you are on top of a tree. What the man sitting down is saying, while you are sitting on a tree, you may not see what that man is saying. And at times I warn people, the person may not even be a witch or a wizard. The person may not be a prophet or a prophetess. But it is good for you to learn how to accommodate and bear with people. Never you say the mouth of an elder is smelly. That's another adage in Yoruba. Yes, set your goals, but don't become overly ambitious to the point where you have to push people down on your way to achieving your own goal. You are like, these people, anybody that is on my way, I will just push them down. I have set my face on the goal. It could be suicidal. So that's what we want to say. Humility will never lose its place. Courtesy will never be outdated. No matter who you are, whatever you have achieved, please don't shun people. Don't let people regret ever helping you to reach where you have reached. And of course, table do turn. Your employee today can become your employer tomorrow. I was citing a case at the session yesterday at iTrain Africa, where a colleague, embarrassed a particular student, and I walked out of the office to, accommodate the student, talk to the student. I tried to sympathize with him and begged him. And I told him that for the embarrassment my colleague meted to him, I'm going to compensate him. What he came to do, did it for him free. In fact, I told him to go. Just leave it with me. I will get it done. I will call you to come and pick it. That same man, I didn't know he works in a bank. He helped two of my mentees to get work into a bank. So, it is often said that kingmakers don't look like one. You don't want to embarrass your destiny helper before you realize that person is meant to take you to the top. That would be suicidal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. It's interesting, just sitting there and listening. You made major points. The mouth of an elder should never be said to have offensive odor. You said also that you don't get to a point where you clear everyone out of your path, especially the one who's helped you. You mentioned a lot of things. I know Darren is writing some things that maybe she wants to buttress, or I don't know, but I see these things happen when a lot of people have the privilege to sit at the table. Now there's an extreme that should not be encouraged, the extreme of sizing yourself up and not owning to the fact that you deserve to be in the room and on the table. I've had privileges where I've had senior people who have given me opportunity to be in the room, and you comparing their success with your success, sometimes you're almost tempted to say, let me behave myself, that kind of let me act my level. And thankfully that you sometimes have those people who are sensitive to tell you that no. Look, yes, there's a difference, but don't act like you're not, because that's when it will now look like, why is this person here? Are you getting my point? But then there's the other side where some people now feel, I'm sitting down with Danny. Is it not that Danny? I'm sitting down with Itai. Those people that once admired, And because they look far away, all of a sudden they're asking me questions, they're asking me feedback, they're asking me for help. You know, there's this tendency that people fall into the second extreme, which is now we are now mates. You get that kind of thing. Like, so there's nothing super. You've even shared some of your strategy of success. So, oh, so this is how, this is why you're big. So you're not that big, you know. I'm sure that also happens. Uh, I remember the story about the fox and the chicken. I think, Danny, I've told you about that story before. I'm not sure. Have I? Okay, I've told you. And just for the purpose of people who are joining, you know, think about the flap, that meaty part of the chicken or the hen or the cock or the whatever they call it. And the fox actually was running away from the chicken because he felt it was mobile fire. And you know, one day the chicken had to talk to the fox. Why are you running away from me? And he says, your fire on your head. That's why. He says, no, it's not fire, it's meat. Touch it, touch it. So when the fox discovered that it was not fire, it was meat, of course, you know what that means. So the story has it that that's the beginning of the enmity between the fox and the chicken. But let's bring it back to you, Jerry. What's your take on that?
So there's a Yoruba adage that will say that um, a child's hand will not get like the top of something, and same thing, an adult hand will not enter like a small calabash. What that means is there's a place for what a child would do and what an adult would do. And I always say to people, like, you being in the same room with people on the same table doesn't make you mates at all. It doesn't make you mates. No matter how you become so, and and I will not exclude myself, when you just land success, there's a tendency for you to feel like you have arrived and you know it all. There's a tendency for you to feel that way, especially when you are invited for the first time into that kind of setting. There's like you want to spit fire. And most people that do that is sometimes when you look deeper, it might be from a place of complex because they've been undermined for so, or they've been underrated for so long that they want to come and show that, yes, like you people may have been at this table for the longest time, but trust me, like there's a new kid in town, there's a new kid on the block. Like you must see me. I always say, do not resist the temptation for the show off to the people you met at the table. Because no matter the innovative ideas you have, remember some people have experience which you can't buy. Your brain may be oozing with innovation, how we are going to take the company to the next level, but you don't know all the debts that that organization or that particular thing has that can hinder your innovation from seeing the light of day. Those people know it. Don't let them watch you fail just based on, I know it's Baba, go and sit down. Don't let, because they will watch you fail and you will come back crawling and say, please, why, how should I do this thing? Right? And I have seen it play. I remember, like, my elder sister is a medical doctor. I remember when she was on house job, when she was doing training, she was in Benin, then I went to see her in Benin and I followed her to the labor room. And there was this nurse, like this midwife. She will, when you're on duty and, I don't know if you've ever been in the government, this thing, you can have 8 women in the labor room and just one doctor that is on duty that day. So it's just a whole mess. And this baby was delivered. My sister is a doctor, right? And this baby was not crying. But my sister is that kind of person that, all those mama matron, mommy, all those kind of stuff. Ordinarily, she would have had to report that maybe the baby died or, because there was no oxygen to maybe like put in the baby's nose. And I remember the matron that day. after doing the beating of the baby, turning the baby upside down, that is read in medical books. The baby didn't cry. The midwife just said, doctor, I'm coming. Oh. She went, brought methylated spirit, put it in a small cotton hole. Just say, doctor, give me the baby. She just took that thing, put it on the baby's nose for like a few seconds, like she was calculating it. Within a few seconds, that baby cried. And she was like, I beg you, not go die for my hand for duty today. My sister looked at her like, my sister did not read that in the medical book, that she could bring in the absence of, my sister, I don't know how the medical jargons of you put a manual oxygen thing to make the air go into the lungs. Trust me, the baby didn't cry. And if the baby does not cry within the stipulated, like, let me say 15 seconds or thereabout of birth, like, that's it. So imagine she had come into the room with, I'm a doctor, I went to 7 years of medical school. It would have been on a record that that baby died on a watch. Because she's raising shoulder for the mama that did not go to medical school, but has been in that labor room for how many years? God knows. So resist the temptation when you're invited to a table. In fact, I'll say, be that person that will act like you know nothing, so that you can get from those elders. They can say, buy a lunch, this is how they do it, and everything like that. When you get that, then you can now add it to your own innovation and present it to them like it is their idea. That is the way to when you arrive at the table as a young person, that's the way to act. Then the other extreme that feels like you don't deserve it, I always say, like, when people invite you to the table, especially men, men don't joke with their money. They don't joke with, maybe it's a business. They don't joke with their business or their money. So if they invited you to the table, it's because they feel you have something upstairs. You have common sense. People will not invite you if they feel like you cannot take them to where they want to go. So tell yourself, even if I'm having imposter syndrome and I want to make myself smaller because these people have gone before me. Anybody that invites you to a table, like a big table, they know you have something. You may not see it yourself, but they have seen it. So own it with your full chest, like own it and take up space. That's what I always say, take up space, act like you own the room. Like, because they invited you to the room and they were not joking. They invited you there for progress. So you must leave your, I'm too small for this caliber of people, and try to, whatever it is that they saw that made them call you to the table, it must be important for the progress of that thing. So that would be my take on the two extremes of, I'm feeling too small, on the table. They didn't bring you here to do, even in these days of, we are trying to fill a quota of gender equality. Trust me, they won't just bring you because you're a female. They bring you because you're a female with sense. And in the other extreme of, I've now arrived, I know past them. Hey, they will watch you fall if you don't take care.
Thank you so much. We've said a lot today, and I believe those that have ears and have sense, they will hear. Let's hear from Olusola Olumde's parting shots, and then I'll come back to you then.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Derry. You have said so much, and I think it becomes more complex when it happens in an organizational setting, superior to subordinate. I did want some young professionals, was training them. I said, please, never confront your boss or tell him he's wrong openly, or else you have signed your suicidal letter. And I said, when you even have idea to offer, you still go, even though you have crafted the idea, Augusta, how do you think we should do this thing? I scribble one small thing down here, so I want you to help me look into it and correct it. The man may not correct a single thing there, but the fact that you have carried him along and you have given him honor to whom honor is due, he will reciprocate. He will honor you back. So I would say that knowing what to do part time, I think, goes a long way. Then that is what we call street sense. I think the professionals of these days, especially the younger ones, they need to go and get street sense. You know, street sense is not taught in the however, you can learn from people, you can learn from others, you can see the way things are done. And at times, it baffles me. If you look at the younger generation, you wonder how were they raised. We are losing the culture of respect, of courtesy, of humility. And many of them will have been helped, but for attitude. So I will say, as you go out there, as an educator or wherever space you find yourself, please give honor to whom honor is due. And I tell you, you never can tell how much those guys promote your life. I tell you, where they will decide who next to go, who next not to go. Like I said yesterday, I have seen somebody who was promoted to the place of principal manager just because of the relationship he had some 10, 15 years ago. He lost contact with that person. They found themselves in another bank together. This other colleague had now become an oga. And that one could call. He now told me, like, that man, in fact, remember my first daughter's name and called him Babadami. And I remember the man came for the naming ceremony of that my daughter. When they left that bank, when everybody went their way, by the time they met in the new bank, this other colleague had become so senior oga. And there were more people than the position available. He said the man just took his name and told the committee, pick this man and add any other person to him. If he had been brash or disrespectful 15 years ago, there is an adage in Yoruba that the pounded yam of 20 years will still be as hot as a fresh one. That thing is real. So please, as your talent sets you up, don't let your character bring you down. Set your goals and know that you cannot achieve the goal all alone. Let there be burden bearer to help you execute your goals. One of the easiest things you can do is to be humble, is to be courteous, is to have street sense. In fact, some people will help you amplify your goal and still help you to execute it. I tell you. So please, don't be brash. Don't act in the moment of anger. And they said this, I will say that. Please. You will never be quoted for the word you never spoke. I hope you know that. Yes. So please, be patient. Bear it now. With time, you will get over it. The same people who are affecting you negatively today may be the same person that will promote you tomorrow. When you are parting with people, part in peace. Don't part in pieces, because we'll meet again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, during your parting shots, please.
My parting shots would go back to the goal thing. If you've not set your goals, the easiest way to set it is to compartmentalize your life into buckets, as in compartmentalize your life. Now, as in that's for the beginners who have not even set at all. And if you set, I'll say now take that goal and find someone, a coach, a whatever, that can help you. If you can afford to pay someone who can, look at everything holistically and break out strategies on how you can achieve holistically. If you can't, then you can find mentors who maybe, this is spiritual buckets. I can find someone to hold my hand in this area. I can find and all that. Please don't set a goal without a strategy on its execution. And when you finally set strategy on its execution, say, for you to execute this building, whatever, do this, do that. Make sure you set timeline to it and find another person to hold you accountable to this timeline. So in case you're not executing it by a certain timeline, you can already know you are falling behind on those things that you are supposed to work on. That'll be my parting shot for today.
Thank you so much. Yes, we wish everyone who started a new session a great session, a faithful session, a fruitful session, a safe session as well. So we'll be here tomorrow, all things being equal, for another edition of the Good Morning Education Show. Thank you, Dr. Denry, Sola, thank you. Olushola Olumide, thank you to those who joined us. And we believe that you'll keep getting better. Until then, we have our usual greeting as we end the show. All right. So at the count of two, we'll say our goodbyes. Ready? 1, 2, go.
It's
It's
always a
always a great
A
morning
great morning on the
on
Good
on the
Morning
Good Morning
Education
Education.
Show.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.